fluid rolling. I mean, this could be a really quick turnaround with Lagway and Napier. And now that he's got a veteran in Ron Roberts, who's done a great job with that defense, and we're familiar with him because he's been in this state for several years. Are you in agreement that they could turn this thing around fast because of who they are?
Yes, absolutely. And again, if you hit on a quarterback early in a rebuild, it gives you a chance because now you have that position solved, and that lures other people, whether it's through the portal, whether it's through high school recruiting. I think what they've done here is, and it's going to end up being on a bigger scale, but it's the exact same thing that happened with Mac Brown when he got Sam Howell to sign with North Carolina. And all of a sudden, they went from here to here because of that one position, and then it allowed them to build other guys around him and increase the trajectory of the program. I think Florida's always going to be an attractive destination. You don't have to leave the state if you don't want to in recruiting. You're now going to have some attractiveness in the transfer portal because the trajectory of the program is going in a different direction than it was just, 6 weeks ago. So the biggest thing that I think helps Florida is removing all of this negativity that has been looming over them, that has been created in some part by their performance, but really more because of a toxic fan base that just is relentless and won't let up. And if that can dissipate and is no longer a part of the equation, then the sky's the limit.
Talk about how important it sounds simple, but how important experience is in the league. And here's where I'm going. Two guys with their back against the wall, Billy Napier and Hugh Freeze. Hugh's coached over 100 games as a head coach. Napier over 80. Experience matters when things aren't going your way, and they're not, especially in this league. I was so impressed with Freeze and Auburn, and we talked about it all week that they could upset A&M, and that was a hell of a game. And what Napier did. Talk about how important in this league guys who have been there who can weather what you just described and turn it around and get their team going again.
Well, I think if there's one thing that Billy Napier has in his corner, and it's starting to come to fruition, is even when things were at their worst, and he likely, developed this under Nick Saban in his time with Nick Saban, is he has never wavered from the process. He has not attempted to take shortcuts. He has not given any ground on what the standard and the expectation is. While it was going bad and it looked ugly, he never deviated. I think that ability to stay the course and have that much discipline under that much pressure is why he's in the position that he's in right now. And I thought that the post-game interview
Yes.
that he did, I think it was with Molly, revealed that. Like, there is a resolve and a resiliency, and he was not going to back down. It didn't matter how many names you called him. It didn't matter what was said about his football team. Somehow, some way, whatever he's doing inside that building has worked. It's worked. But I think it doesn't happen if he panics. It doesn't happen if he says, oh, well, maybe we shouldn't do this. Let's try something different. If it was tried and true and he truly believed in it, and it's how it got him to the position he's in right now, you don't deviate.
Tom Luginbill with ESPN on the Out of Bounds show. Ole Miss did everything you're supposed to do. Lane understood that this was a path early 3 years ago when a lot of people sat on their hands or dismissed it or didn't want to do it and pearl clutched. He got everybody in the right spot. He got alums motivated. They gave a ton of money. They landed some really good transfers. They poured 15 plus million in. They had the schedule and they have the quarterback who's played forever. How now they got to flip out of 40 players on this roster. How devastating a loss is this for Ole Miss, Luke?
Well, listen, I think it's devastating because it's frustrating, right? You go out and you do everything in your power financially through name, image, and likeness, through the transfer portal, through high school recruiting, to put together what you think has an opportunity to be a national championship level roster. And not only are you not putting yourself in a position to play for a conference title, you're likely not going to be in a position to be in the college football playoff. And now you look at the decisions you made, whether it be financially, whether it be personalities, whether it be the player that you brought in, and you say, okay, well, where did we go wrong? Right? Because you have to ask those questions. You got to look in the mirror and you got to say, wow, where do we get this wrong? And that sucks because you work so hard to put it together and try to make the best decisions. And they did make some really good decisions.
Sure.
By improving the trenches on both sides of the ball. That doesn't always guarantee, though, that you're going to be the best team. Like on Saturday, Florida was the better team. Ole Miss might have had the better roster,
right?
But they weren't the better team on Saturday, and that's got to be incredibly frustrating. And so now you go back to the drawing board and you say, okay. And you've heard me say this 100 times, and I'm not necessarily directing this at Ole Miss.
Sure,
this could apply to anybody who's heavily invested in the transfer portal and things don't quite go as you want them to, and that is. When you build the roster that way, and you're going to have to come up with 40 to 45 new players each and every year, how are you supposed to have any foundational principles? How are you supposed to have any developmental principles of who you are, what your standard, what your expectation is as a program when you're not playing with 3 and 4 and 5 year guys that have been invested from word go? You're renting players. You know what? It's a transactional nature. So what is that player's allegiance or loyalty or commitment going to be to the program if things aren't going well? All right? Is it going to be to the bag, to the collective, to the check that they're getting? Is it to the locker room? Is it to a group of guys that maybe they've known since July, not the last 4 to 5 years? I think all of those elements are very, very real. I think Florida State experienced that at a very, very real level this year. And I think depending on the decisions that you make, and I'm not saying that Ole Miss made bad decisions here, but they're in this conversation. It's just like Nick Saban said on the game day desk in week 0. You know, if you can pay all the guys you want, but if you pay the wrong ones, you're SOL.
Right.
And I'm not saying Ole Miss paid the wrong ones, but that is real. It is part of it. And I think what's happened is we're so far removed now from player development. We're so far removed now from player investment into principles and pillars and foundational elements of what the program is going to be, that when things don't go well, where is the engagement and where is the loyalty?
Yeah. Okay. Let's go to the debacle of Alabama getting embarrassed at Oklahoma. I understand Oklahoma's defense is good and has been good all year, but they've been horrific on offense and fired their coordinator, as you know, several weeks ago before the Ole Miss game. Now Bama's got Auburn, and Hugh almost beat them last year. He loves to, while they've had some head scratchers in big games, Freeze loves to get his team ready to play. What do you think is going on in Tuscaloosa this week, and where do they go from here?
Well, I'll tell you, the perspective of this game changed dramatically in the last 48 hours, right? If you would have told the Auburn community, Auburn fans, the Auburn football team, that they're going to be playing in the Iron Bowl and Alabama would be reeling, that Alabama would be coming off their most embarrassing performance of the season, and that there was truly a chance, the way that Auburn has played this year, to win the game, they would have said absolutely no way. And that's exactly what it looks like right now. I think this is going to be a very important week for Alabama from a leadership and locker room standpoint. We're going to find out an awful lot about this football team and what they're made of, what they care about, because what they put on the field on Saturday night was downright embarrassing. They had no plan on defense or quarterback run. If you would have changed the uniforms between Oklahoma and Vanderbilt, you would have thought you were watching Vanderbilt and Alabama play again. That's how big of a quarterback run impact made in the Oklahoma game. Did you see the rush? They rushed the quarterback 25 times. The quarterback. And Alabama had no plan. And then I went back and I watched Alabama. I know. And I think Oklahoma went back and they watched Lenora Sellers at South Carolina and they watched Diego Pavia at Vanderbilt. They said, we're going to win this game if we run the quarterback. And now if you're Auburn, and I'm not saying Peyton Thorne's a big runner, he's athletic enough, but you better have some form of a wildcat or a quarterback run scheme because clearly Alabama doesn't have an answer for it.
It's Auburn at Bama. Who do you like?
At Alabama. To be honest with you, off of what I saw, I like Auburn. I can't believe I'm saying that. Alabama's just been too sloppy and undisciplined to have any type of investment that they're going to play well. They've been so wildly inconsistent all year long, despite their level of talent, that it's really been mind-boggling. I mean, it's a head-scratcher. And the other thing, too, on this, offensively, Alabama played so bad at every single spot. Their tight ends couldn't block anybody. Wideouts couldn't block anybody. Wideouts couldn't catch the ball. Jalen Milroe was a mess. I mean, the whole thing looked like they were in disarray.
All right, let's do some rapid fire with Tom Luginbill with ESPN on the Out of Bounds show. Lugs, I think Texas is a fraud. Combination of their schedule, and I don't think they're tough enough in the line of scrimmage. Your thoughts?
I think they're the number 3 team in the country by default. I don't think the committee knows what to do with them. They look at them. They see the horns on the helmet. They hear Quinn Ewers. I ask, are you watching Quinn Ewers? Okay. Quinn Ewers. Okay, but are you watching Quinn Ewers? And I go back to something Sark said 3 weeks ago now. He goes, when Quinn Ewers is hot, I think he's the best quarterback in the country. When was the last time Quinn Ewers was hot?
Like 8 weeks ago.
Been a while. Yeah. And so I'm with you on that one. I think Texas is a good football team. I don't know if I'd put Texas above SMU right now. I don't know if I'd put Texas above Tennessee. And I'll tell you the other thing. You know the team that we're not talking about, try not to screw up your rapid fire, but I got to say this. Has anybody really, truly looked at how bad Notre Dame's schedule is?
It's a cakewalk.
Like how bad? No, let's point this out. The worst team in a Power 5 conference this year may be Purdue.
Yes.
On Notre Dame's schedule. The second worst team in Power 5 football
Stanford.
This year, Power 4 football, Florida State.
Oh, yeah.
On Notre Dame's schedule.
Yeah.
Third worst team in major college football right now is, you just said it, Stanford. The 2 service academy teams would beat half of the teams on their record, on their schedule by 2 touchdowns.
True.
And we're looking, and I say all of this, but then I watch them, and I go, damn, they're a good football team.
Well,
and the reason why here it is. They can run the football, and they can play defense. And if you have to play in weather, and you're in a playoff format, that stuff travels.
It does travel. Okay, I think A&M, your thoughts real quick. We got a minute or so. Even though A&M lost on Saturday, I don't take anything from them. Marcel Reed's still trying to figure it out, but A&M's going to try to play bully ball. I think they'll do the chip on their shoulder. They're tough as hell in the trenches. Who do you like in A&M Texas?
Oh, goodness. I think that Texas is in a position where it's going to catch up with them. And early on, I like A&M, and I don't even think A&M's all that good, to be honest with you. I think they are wildly inconsistent. I think they've got a lot of the same issues that Ole Miss has. When they're really good, they're really good. When they're not, they're very pedestrian.
Yeah. Where are you this week?
I got Virginia Tech in Blacksburg. The quintessential Thanksgiving gobbler game with 2 teams trying to get bowl eligible.
There we go. Hey, I wish you and your family a happy Thanksgiving. We'll talk next week.
Same to you, buddy. Same to you. Take care.
Tom Luginbill, national college football analyst with ESPN. He joined us on the Out of Bounds show, driven by Mack Hike Auto Group. Are you in the market for a car, truck, or SUV? Visit any of the Mack Hike dealerships in the Jackson Metro. We are the Out of Bounds Show. We're live in the Bank Plus studio. I've got some texts that we have to get into on Ole Miss straight ahead.